Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Pumelele Zondi with your technology and social media news. Now, if you want to be a part of this technology conversation, you can find us on SABC Network. Now, that is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's newsnetwork at sabc.co.za on email. Here's what's coming up in the program. Find out about a remote center that helps students choose university programs still available. We tell you about an app that helps you connect with some of the world's wildlife. Joy Nkuna-Tebid is in studio. We'll chat to her about social media addiction. Hello, Joy.
Good afternoon.
Now, Joy, is social media addiction a real problem?
It is a growing problem with more of the social networks coming up. So you find that a lot of people are becoming more and more addicted.
All right, we'll touch on that discussion later in the program. But first, let's start with your technology and social media news. Now, if you haven't applied to university, there is a center that can help you make the right choice. It's called the Central Applications Clearinghouse, or CACH. It's in Randburg, near Johannesburg. Makeketla Motlabe visited the center and tells us more about it.
It's all systems go.
And if there is a place available at an institution, they will contact you directly.
And in full swing.
Public management.
And to avoid mass walk-ins at institutions of higher learning. Rini Nzunga has worked here since the system's inception in 2013, a year after the UJ tragedy.
We help applicants who are looking for study opportunities by collecting their details and passing them to different institutions, even people who are dealing with learnerships. Okay, we capture them on our system and send them to various institutions.
Utilized as the middleman, the CACH system can only recognize matriculants from 2008. It matches applicants' exam results, subsequently finding institutions with places and courses available.
So she's only looking for a place to study.
But it's not without challenges.
Some people have been calling since last week, Friday, when the results came out. And they're still calling in today, but the results are not in the system, so they're slowly loading them.
Most of them, they want anything, even SETA, like learnerships, like everything. They don't want to stay like at home for this year. They want to go, they want to do something at least this year.
Almost 12,000 students have registered on the system since Friday. And a plea to universities' management.
If someone walks into university, let's serve them. But what we will be doing, as I said, will be to intensify our campaign, applying our campaign so that we reduce the number of walk-ins and people are encouraged to, to apply online.
The system will run until March as thousands of prospective students hope to secure a last-minute place.
In South Africa, we went to the Northern Cape province to find out about an app that can allow you to find out more about some of the world's most endangered animals. You can even take a selfie with them from the comforts of your own home. Taking a selfie with the world's most poached animal. Conservationists hope this interaction can help humans around the world care more about endangered species like the pangolin. The app is called Safari Central. It was created by social enterprise Internet of Elephants, or IOE, whose plan is to make conservation fun for anyone.
It's an app that allows users to connect to animals in the wild, and we do this using augmented reality. So we have digital versions of animals that are living currently in the wild, and people can take photos with them and share them with their friends, and in the process get to know a little bit more about the species that we have included in our game at the moment.
Other animals on the app are an elephant, a grizzly bear, a jaguar, a black rhino, and Madagascar's lemur. The pangolin, a small mammal covered in hard shell-like scales, has been hunted to near extinction. Found in Africa and Asia, it is the world's most trafficked mammal. Their scales are used in traditional remedies for ailments such as asthma and arthritis. They are also hunted for their meat.
She's a really cool pangolin. She's shy, but once you introduce yourself slowly and you work with her and you follow her, she comes out of her shell quite nicely. And she doesn't have a family that I know of yet, but hopefully in the near future she will.
The information gathered includes what they do at night and during the day. It goes into the app. Stories about the animals are part of the experience, and developers are able to track how many times users click on the information tabs to learn more.
It's an awareness tool that has incredible value for endangered and protected species. And I think that's a key thing in terms of the feedback that we're getting, is this awareness that's being generated via the app, and that's very important to us.
IOE is also planning to release a game version of the app this year. The game will use GPS data of animals' movement sourced from researchers and Safari Central partners, then challenge players to find them in their own city.
The game itself will involve following animals in your own city. So we take real animal data and transpose it onto any city in the world, and the user can then follow these animals as if they were in the wild.
Research shows that 50% of the world's wildlife has been lost in the past 40 years. IOE wants to get millions of people to the facts and contribute towards reversing the damage. We also caught up with the Registry Africa as they were leaving on a road trip to Mount Kilimanjaro. The roadshow is to bring awareness to the new domain, .Africa. After the group summits down the mountain, they will meet with African heads of state in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
The South African Central Registry has launched the .Africa domain. They are now creating awareness of this by sending a group to summit up Mount Kilimanjaro. .Africa is a domain that seeks to give young Africans an identity and a digital footprint of their own. Registry CEO Mr. Lucky Masilela is amongst the 13 people going climbing up Mount Kilimanjaro.
.Africa is a new brand identity for the continent. It does not necessarily replace your co.za. So what are we planning to do in celebrating .Africa? Go across the continent and create awareness of the value and the importance of .Africa. This flag was handed by the chairperson of the Africa Union to the chairperson of the Africa Union Commission, then to us, the .Africa team. So .Africa is not just a name for us. It carries a number of things for us in the continent.
To help the team with their voyage up the mountain, Deshawn Daisel, who was the first South African female to take up a South African flag to the mount in 1994, will be adjoining. She assisted the team with their conditioning in preparation. Unatim Sengana has been chosen to be the ambassador for the summit and .Africa altogether. They will later go to the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, where they will be handing over the .Africa flag to the heads of states.
After the break, we will chat about social media addiction with clinical psychologist Joy Nkuna-Tebid. Stay with us.
Today on Rights and Recourse, we will unpack the new traditional court bill.
The idea of the bill is not to overregulate, to basically set the principles.
The most important aspect of this bill is that it understands that customary law by its nature is consensual, that I have a right to affiliate, I have a right therefore to opt in, and I have a right to opt out.
The opt-out provision is basically one that you've got to respect the court in the sense of, if you've been summoned, you've got to tell the clerk of the court at least that you're not willing to attend.
The challenge that I would like to throw to the Department of Justice, it has to come up with mechanisms of ensuring that people who exercise their right to opt out or to opt in are not in any way victimized.
Hashtag Rights with Dumila Mates on legal issues every Sunday at 2 o'clock Central African Time.
We are your eyes in all major events around the world.
A wonder not seen in the United States in almost 100 years.
It looks like the sky of a different world. You see the stars out during the day. You see a sunset 360 degrees all around you.
Before you leave, make sure that Dropburn is taking you through traffic alerts all around South Africa.
All we can do is stick to what we do and focus on our own job and not focus on them.
The Boks will also don the red jersey in this match to mark the 25th anniversary of rugby unity in South Africa.
An update on all major currency to guide you. A story of women in jail told in pictures by Fatima Mir through art that will blow your mind. Set the agenda for the day with Morning Live.
It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Thank you very much for being a part of our network. Now, 2 Apple shareholders have raised concern about how the iPhone can be addictive. They are questioning the impact of phones on children. Now, Apple devices are praised for revolutionizing how we consume and buy music and other media. But those complaining are warning that kids spend too much time looking at the screen. They're mostly on social media there. They warn that Apple needs to add a lot more controls in order to help kids not to get addicted. Now, to discuss social media addiction with us is clinical psychologist Joy Nkuna-Tebid. Hello, and thank you for being a part of our network, Joy.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, Joy, maybe if we can start with defining social media addiction. What is it?
All right. Let me start off by defining just simple addiction. Simple addiction is having the need of repeatedly engaging with a certain activity or substance. In this case, it would be an activity. Now, initially, it would start off as something that is enjoyable. You started off as saying that you want to just kill boredom and entertain yourself. But as time goes on, you notice that you start engaging more and more with it, and you realize that you become more invested in having that activity and doing it to make sure that you continue and you reach the same level of enjoyment or satisfaction that you had initially. That would mean that now you're addicted. But now, unfortunately, with that addiction, it tends to cause harm within your social life, at work, at school, and you generally struggle to manage your life as it was before. That addiction would be noticed, observed behaviorally, and in most cases you find that you become preoccupied with it mentally. Those are the ones that now become more challenging to leave when you become mentally preoccupied with the game, the toy, the whichever thing that you're doing, the behavioral manifestation. In terms of social media addiction, you'll find that a lot of children would be on the phone constantly, on TV, on the computer. I'm not quite sure if you've observed it. There are those children that you'll meet in the mall. They are 3, but all of them are on the phone. There's not much interaction. Life has become so fixated on the phone and not wanting to miss out on what is happening on the phone and catching up with the extended world. So you become addicted with that recurrent exposure to what is happening out there and what could have developed in the last or happened in the last 1 minute.
Oh, but we'd be told that the internet is good and the fact that our phones are good because they give us information. Is that not true?
That's true. They are very good because they've made the world smaller. So I get access to what is happening in China, for example. I get access to what is happening in Brazil. But now the challenge is when I constantly want to keep up to date with what is happening immediately or 1 second ago. I get to a point where I cannot live without my phone from fear of missing out on what could have happened. The information that you receive is good. But unfortunately, with addiction, you keep on wanting more and more of that information. You keep on wanting to be exposed to different types of activity to achieve that initial satisfaction that you had of gaining information. So you find that what is immediately around you is no longer satisfactory. And you focus mostly on the world that's on the phone. So it's good for you to know what is happening in the world in extent, but you limiting yourself to just what's happening on the phone, you forget what's really happening in reality.
Joy, you started by defining addiction in general. Is this because there's no difference between a general addiction like alcohol addiction, drug addiction, to social media addiction?
There's not much of a difference. They both achieve or cause the same kind of brain change. So what happens is, for me to say I'm happy about reading this paper or reading this journal on my phone, the brain would have produced a certain neurotransmitter that lets me know that I am excited. If I feel satisfied and happy with that kind of an emotional feeling, I would want to feel it again. So I would engage more with that behavior. But now the challenge with addiction is you tend to engage with it to a point where you can no longer control it. You want more and more and more of that experience. And for me to achieve that initial sense of happiness, or, oh, I'm satisfied with this reading or this game or this Facebook update, I would need to be more exposed to it. And that need to find out, so how many more people are on there? And unfortunately, that's where we get caught within the social media networks.
There are quite a lot of people who pretty much, if you will, probably live for social media likes. They upload photos on a daily basis on sites like Instagram, and then watch the number of likes continue.
Yes, yes.
You're saying that's wrong?
That is a challenge, because now it initially starts off as a compulsion. I just want to check how many people commented on my post, or how many people commented on what I wrote, or whatever it is that you did on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. It starts off as a compulsion and you enjoy it. But now it becomes so addictive, and it becomes so in tune to you, because now if you initially noticed, oh, it was just 2 people, that will be all right, let me relax. Then you realize, oh, it's 10 more people. Then you start wanting to keep tabs to how many people have actually commented on that and how many people have viewed that, that update. That's where they catch us with the networks, is that you realize that they, again, if the more people are on that profile or on that Facebook or Twitter, that's how they get to sell, and that's how they make more money. And that, unfortunately, they are tapping into that human nature of wanting to fit in, or wanting to be part of what is happening and not missing out.
How can we then control it so we are not addicted to these social media sites?
All right, I think the first thing is to acknowledge that it is addictive. So to be aware that it's something that I need to do, but with caution. You need to be able to say, I am going to engage with this particular activity for 1 hour, and that's where it ends. So you need to manage your time adequately. If, for example, in this case, when you indicated the children are becoming more addicted, children might not have that capacity to say it's 1 hour. Some, unfortunately, I've noticed, they start being interested at 2 years. The time concept is not really there. So you as a parent might need to remind the child that time is up, and time is up. So you need to stop. And the other thing that you might also be helpful is to realize that I enjoy this, but I also need to engage with other humans
in my surrounding,
within my circle.
Yes. All right, sure. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, sure. Now, Joy Nkuna-Tebid there is a clinical psychologist. Now, this week we caught up with the disc diva Promise Zondo, and she told us about her favorite piece of technology.
Hi guys, my name is Promise Zondo. I'm just here to tell you about my favorite piece of technology. It's actually my Android phone. I cannot stay without my phone, guys. I swear to God, it's got, all the digital apps that I have on my phone is just amazing. I can actually take professional pictures with it. There's an app called 360 that I use to filter everything to look good, because everybody knows I'm an Insta fanatic and I'm a celeb, whatever they call it.
What is environmental health?
In Section 24 of the Constitution, the environmental right has a second part, which is to encourage people to be active citizens and gives us the right to participate in politics and organize and raise awareness so that the environmental right can be guaranteed.
Using coal and wood and paraffin to cook with or to heat their space or to heat water. These are basic fundamentals, and I think if we can address that alone, we will make a huge impact, an environmental impact on the health of our population.
Food that comes into the country, the vigilance at the ports and harbours is being checked at the moment currently by environmental practitioners who are port officers at those ports. They need to be more stringent in terms of control of what comes into the country.
Join Health Talk every Saturday for all your health news. Take your evening well informed with primetime news.
Thanks for tuning in. You're watching SABC News Prime. The burning and land reform issue was also a point of discussion on the first day.
If you do not have a skills revolution, you will run into the kind of problems that we're having at the moment.
We have funded about 466,000 students, out of about 800,000 students that are in the university system.
South Africa says insufficient electricity and water remains one of the biggest barriers to development and prosperity on the continent.
The top 4 batsmen in the squad, Hashim Amla, Quinton de Kock, Faf du Plessis and AB de Villiers, are certainties in the starting lineup.
I really believe we cover all bases when it comes to spin bowling, seam bowling, proper pace bowling, and an amazing batting lineup.
Stay tuned every Monday to Sunday from 6 p.m.
Remember that it's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Welcome back. Now, new technology gadgets showcase at the Consumer Electronics Show held in Las Vegas, and Huawei wins an infringement lawsuit against Samsung. These are some of the stories that made headlines in the tech world in the last week.
Several thousand people descended on a wet and dreary Las Vegas on Tuesday as the world's largest technology showcase opened to the public.
This year, the big trends are in voice assistants and artificial intelligence. So think Amazon Alexa, the Google Assistant. Samsung has their own virtual assistant called Bixby, and LG does too, called ThinQ. Now, these assistants you can pretty much do a whole bunch of things with. They're found in a bunch of different devices across the home. We're talking smart speakers, but this year we're also seeing them in televisions. We're seeing them in fridges.
Other highlights at the Consumer Electronics Show include drones and robots, especially a group of window cleaning robots. Now heading over to China. A court in South China's Shenzhen ruled on Thursday that Samsung Electronics' Chinese subsidiary must stop infringement on Huawei Technologies' patent rights and stop selling relevant products.
Defendants Samsung China Investment Co. Limited and Samsung Electronics Co. Limited should immediately stop the infringement on the plaintiff's right of a patent number 2010-101-377-31.2 through manufacturing, selling and offering for sale and use.
Huawei has filed a series of lawsuits on intellectual property rights against Samsung. This marked Huawei's first victory against Samsung on its series of legal challenges over intellectual property. And off we go to the US of A. FBI director calls unbreakable encryption major public safety issue.
Being unable to access nearly 7,800 devices in a single year is a major public safety issue. That's, just to give you a frame of reference, that's more than half of all the devices we attempted to access in that time frame, and that's just at the FBI.
Technology companies and many digital security experts have said the FBI's attempts to require devices allow investigators a way to access a criminal suspect's phone would harm internet security and empower malicious hackers.
This week, our poll has been asking if you ever used online platforms when you applied for university. Now, 39% of respondents say they applied online. We had 14% who say they only thought about it. 22% say no, and 25% say that option was not available when they applied. And that's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network. Now that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. From me and the rest of the network team, have a good one. Good night.